Hey, welcome to the Bible Reloaded, where we got all the memes you need. We got your daddy of 5.
We got your Pepes.
We got your vapes.
We got your classic 2012 Circa Rage comics.
We got your sad violin.
For the artists out there, we got your fidget spinners. There you go. You pay attention in class now. Maybe become a doctor and empty your piss jugs.
So stay tuned for more memes. We got all you need. Low payments. No, we won't check your credit.
Hello everyone, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake. I'm a little sick.
Yes, he
is. A
is.
little bit.
And this is the Bible Reloaded. We're back to read more of Isaiah. Are we done yet? Hold on, how many pages we got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
don't worry
6.
about it. We're gonna skip around. We're good.
Oh
we
God,
don't count.
We're really gotta skip
don't
to
count those.
the end of that.
We're gonna skip. We're gonna skip to basically the end of this pretty soon. It's just we gotta do some things.
Sure. And don't worry, everyone. We're almost to the New Testament, and you know what that means.
Paul. The Pauline letters. Everyone's excited about the Pauline letters.
Yeah, so today we're beginning in...
You getting ready for that? Some Galatians? Get up in the Romans for a little bit? Galatia all over my Rome.
Romans, motherfucker!
Wow, okay.
Is this a thing?
High energy today.
Is this a thing, people?
High energy.
Okay. Anyway, today we're starting in Isaiah chapter 35. We're talking about some fun stuff today, so stick around. Or click the ad and leave, I don't care. So this is going to be talking about once God does destroy the world, what happens? The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom like the crocus. It will burst into bloom. It will rejoice greatly and shout for joy. The glory of Lebanon will be given to it. The splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord. The splendor of our Lord. So basically, once we get rid of all the wicked people, everything's going to be great. It's kind of like in The Lion King, after Scar got killed, for some reason all the water came back. So.
Yeah, and the colors changed.
Yeah.
Is he a magic lion?
I just think the lions were either A, way too focused on the natural cycle, or just a drought happened and Scar got fucked. Because maybe he would have been a good leader. We never saw Mufasa do anything particularly leadery.
But a drought doesn't make green, like, gases come out of the earth.
Fair point. Or what happened was, we know Mufasa's up in the clouds talking to Simba. Maybe he's being an asshole and saying, oh, you killed me, Mufasa? I'm gonna starve all your people. Fuck you. Cloud Mufasa, out. I assume he made that noise. And then he went to go hang out with those stars that spell out the word sex. Google it.
There's a cloud in Aladdin too, like a dust cloud or something that did that, right?
In The Rescuers, you can see a naked woman. It's in a window.
Like
they're
a
flying
titty?
by really, really quick. You have to freeze frame it at the exact moment. And in the DVD and Blu-ray, I think they removed it. But in the VHS, if you paused it at the right time, there was a naked lady. Can we all agree?
Like titties?
Yeah, I think it was like full frontal. So I think we can all agree at least 20% of the Rule 34 Disney on the internet is made by actual Disney animators because they're all pervs. On that note, we're going to skip forward to verse 7 of chapter 35, but you get the idea. Like, things are good, things are great, yada, yada, yada. The burning sand will become a pool, the thirsty ground, bubbling springs. Fun fact, in different translations, bubbling springs is actually the habitat of the dragons. So, that's nice.
The thirsty ground will turn into the habitat of the dragons?
That's what the thing said that I looked at. Just saying.
That's very different. That's not even really close. Like, bubbling springs almost makes sense in this context.
Yeah.
Dragon habitat. Also, habitat? That was the word?
No, it was a
Not like
different one.
dwelling?
It was like, God, I don't know what it was, but it was basically like the spring where dragons drink or something stupid like that. In fairness, I think the dragons thing, a lot of that's in the King James Version. I think people say that was already a mistranslation, but it's still funny. I think that it is, you know.
Fair enough.
I think it's not to point out that the Bible is saying dragons were real. It's to point out that the translations of the Bible were so sketchy throughout history, we went from no dragons to dragons back to no dragons. That's a pretty big thing to fuck up.
Are you here to tell me that the dragons don't exist?
Komodo do, but not the big...
Those are just big lizards.
Basically. I feel really lied to at the zoo when I do that. That's why I don't go to zoos anymore. Stop lying, zoos.
Because of the zoo lies.
Yeah.
The list of people that lie to you. The American government. NASA. Zoos.
Don't even get me started on zoo books, you fucks.
I don't know. Is that a joke?
Zoo books? You don't remember zoo books.
No.
Well,
Is that a thing I should remember?
Well, apparently not. Everyone in the comments yell at Jake for not remembering zoo books. Anyway.
Maybe I had a better childhood.
Almost certainly. In the haunts where the jackals once lay, grass and reeds and papyrus will now grow, and a highway will be there. It will be called the Way of Holiness. It will be for those who walk on the way. The unclean will not journey it. Now, before you say anything, Jake, I wanted to point out a video from the 700 Club. I believe it was from the early 2000s. There'll be a link in the description. And
Oh, good. I'm sure that the person editing this, who is me, will get a link from the person talking about this, you.
Oh, I will.
And you will not forget, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have it queued up. It's all good. Anyway, This is from 2007. There's a highway called I-35. I think it runs... I want to say it runs down the country, north to south. I could be wrong. But it's a whole story about how these people along this highway who go to churches and towns along this highway, for some reason, started to believe that this prophecy about a highway of holiness was referring to specifically I-35. And
wait, in the United States?
Yes, and not only that, but they started praying and being like, God, we're all along this highway. If we all pray along this highway, the gays will stop liking dicks. And that's not just an example I pulled out of nowhere. In the video, someone specifically says it's to stop gays from being gay. So check out that video if you want to see how fucking batshit insane Pat Robertson's show is.
What about lesbians? Are they still allowed to muff dive? Go bobbing for clits?
I'm gonna make a call and say no for equality reasons.
I mean, sometimes you just need a little clam in your life. Even if you already have one.
Clam slam, thank you, ma'am. So that's the end of chapter 35. Basically, it goes on to continue to list things that are just, once I kill all the enemies of the Jews and all of the evil Jews, things will be better. But then we go on to chapter 36. Sennacherib threatens Jerusalem. This is going to be a story about a king coming into Jerusalem with his forces and being like, hey, fuck you. You belong to me now. And it's actually kind of interesting. This is the first time in God knows how many episodes we've actually had a narrative. So let's take some time and actually do that instead of terrible metaphors.
Let's deep dick this story.
I'm sick of entertaining you people. Let's let the Bible do it for once. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah's reign, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, attacked all the fortified cities of Judah and captured them.
Why wouldn't he attack the non-fortified cities?
It's impressive. It's not impressive if you take over unfortified cities.
Well, I guess, but then you could just starve them out.
I guess.
Little war games.
Maybe the unfortified cities weren't providing any resources to the main hub, so they're like, fuck them.
Nah, dude, you gotta attrition that shit.
Oh,
strategery.
You want to talk about attrition? We're gonna get to that this episode, and what they claim they're gonna be eating and drinking under that attrition. Hint: not food. Then the king of Assyria sent his field commander with a large army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem. When the commander stopped at the aqueduct of the upper pool on the road to Laudener's field, Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, the palace administrator, Shebna, the secretary, and Jones, son of Asaph, the recorder, went out to him. The field commander said to him, "Tell Hezekiah, this is what the great king, the king of Assyria, says. On what are you basing this confidence of yours? You say you have counsel and might for war, but you speak only empty words. On whom are you depending, that you rebel against me? Look, I know you are depending on Egypt, that splintered reed of a staff which pierces the hand of anyone who leans on it. Can I point out? Fucking great metaphor. I love that metaphor, and I might use that in the future. The idea
Like
being,
anytime you lean on Egypt for help, it fucks you.
yes, I love that. That's actually a beautiful metaphor, and I've never heard a metaphor like that. But the idea of leaning on something, but it's perilous, and that if you lean on it too hard, it will pierce you. Good job, Bible. You get one.
Yeah, I guess that's all right. Not a lot of people nowadays use walking sticks though.
Well, you get the idea. Such is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who depend on him. But if you say to me, we are depending on the Lord our God, isn't he the one whose high places and altars Hezekiah removed, saying to Judah and Jerusalem, you must worship before this altar? They're saying that as the king of Assyria is coming in and taking over areas, he is saying, you now need to convert to our religion and sort of integrate. And this was the thing that happened all the time. We took you over. You're part of us now. This is the thing you worship. And obviously the Jews, at least the ones who wrote the Bible, not super happy about that.
What do you think the utility of conversion is there? Do you think it's actually because of a deep-held belief in the thing that you believe, and you think that you're saving other people to do that, and thus making your own shit stronger? Or
It's twofold.
do you think it's a control thing?
It's twofold, I think. Firstly, I don't think it's necessarily the king thinking, oh, I need to save people. I think he's thinking, my success comes through the God I worship. Now I'm going to bring him more followers, whether they like it or not. So I think it's a more selfish. But secondly, I do think it serves a practical purpose, the same way that when people immigrate into a country, for instance, the process of naturalization. So I think kings were aware, oh, if we bring people all under the same banner, they don't like us right now. But if we bring us together through something culturally relevant, and at the time, there's nothing more culturally relevant than religion, let's be real, it's just a fact, it's a good way of trying to codify your new areas of land that you've conquered. If you can get a couple generations of new people worshiping the same god as you, then you create a stronger bond between the areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was playing devil's advocate.
Oh, okay.
I know the answer to these things.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm an educated young man.
The audience hope you learned something. Come now, make a bargain with my master, the king of Assyria. I will give you 2,000 horses if you can put riders on them. How then can you repulse one offer of the least of my master's officials, even though you are depending on Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Furthermore, I have come to attack and destroy this land without the Lord. The Lord himself told me to march against this country and destroy it. So they're saying, listen, come be part of our society. We'll give you a bunch of horses. You won't have to rely on Egypt anymore. So just, come here. Let's work together. We're going to conquer you. You're going to be under our umbrella, but you might be better off. Then Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah said to the field commander, please, speak to your servants in Aramaic, since we understand it. Don't speak to us in Hebrew, in the hearing of the people on the wall. It's interesting to me that they're like, listen, the people in the city, we don't want them to hear this. Please just talk to us, because it's scary. Good job, Hebrews. Doing a bang-up job. But the commander replied, was it only to your master and you that my master sent me to say these things, and not to the people sitting on the wall, who, like you, will have to eat their own excrement and drink their own urine? That's a clapback. I fucking love that. This is a good story, actually. I like it, because he's saying to him, what, you want me to not tell the people of your city what's about to happen to them? They deserve the right to know that if you go against us, the attrition is going to be so bad, you're not just going to have food. You're going to have to eat your own shit. What a power move. I'm just saying.
I don't think you have to eat your own shit. That's a choice you make.
Sure, if you want to, I guess not even if you want to continue living. They didn't know a whole lot about nutrition and how poop worked back then. Wow, you know what? For most of human history, whenever anyone pooped, do you think they were just like, I wonder why this happens? You know what I mean?
No, because I think you eat things and you see it in your shit, and you're like, oh, that's
right.
the clear...
But we understand, like, when you eat food, I mean, they must have understood the concept. I eat food, I feel better. Food energy is some concept. But, like, we know, it takes the stuff in the food that we eat and turns it into chemical energy.
Of course they didn't know that. They just...
But, you know what I mean? Poop only makes sense if you understand that a lot of food is just waste and not used. But they might not have known that. They might have just been like, oh.
This is the most intelligent poop conversation anyone's ever
I
had.
think someone needs to say it. For most of human history, people were probably confounded by what was coming out of their butts, and even more confounded by what was going into them.
This is the crown jewel on top of our careers.
I'm sticking with butternips. Then the commander stood and called out in Hebrew, "Hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. This is what the king says. Do not let Hezekiah deceive you. He cannot deliver you. Do not let Hezekiah persuade you to trust in the Lord when he says, the Lord will surely deliver us. This city will not be given into the hands of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah. This is what the king of Assyria says. Make peace with me, and come out to me. Then each of you will eat fruit from your own vine and fig tree, and drink water from your own cistern."
Okay, you can't really promise everyone their own fig tree.
I guess.
Like, if you had a tree for every person in a city, you just wouldn't have a lot of space. You'd have to pot that. You have to water it. You're in a desert. That just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
I always love stories like this in the Bible or elsewhere because, well, I think a lot of the stuff in the Bible straight up didn't happen. This is pretty clearly based on some event where some king of Assyria, probably did come and try and take over the area. And it's interesting to see history from various perspectives, especially when you're so detached to it. You have no investment, so it's like you can see things objectively. I would consider this it sounds almost like a Roman situation where they're saying, we're going to take you over, but we're going to improve the quality of your life. So you're going to give up a little bit of your autonomy, but it'll be better for everyone overall. So it is interesting in situations like this to say, well, what would have been the better, and obviously based on this story, we don't have enough information to know, but it's interesting to see this from the perspective of the people being taken over by potentially the people who could help them, but they don't want to give up that autonomy and all that, so.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of evidence for some of these attacks. I think there's also like the Jericho story. I believe there's physical evidence for several sieges of Jericho, but obviously I don't think the horns and the going inside the water tube.
The funny thing is actually Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas, which is a fucking awful movie, actually kind of made a good point about when we tell children stories, we kind of make them a little dumbed down, a little simpler for them.
Yeah.
It seems like the kind of thing that there was sort of a conquering of Jericho by the Hebrews at some point.
Oh, sure. Well, Jericho, any walled city in that area probably, they had walls for a reason.
Yeah. But clearly there was some sort of conquest, and then when they were telling the story to their children or whatever, they probably dumbed it down a little and a little and a little, because I'm sure it was probably attrition and trying to get it down. And maybe there were people playing horns there to keep people's spirits up or something. I don't know. And then over time, it morphed into, we literally just played these horns and the walls came down. It was amazing,
Yeah. Stories like that are romanticized. Oral storytelling was a big thing back, like Homer, for instance. Very popular. People don't seem to realize that the Homer books, the Iliad and the Odyssey, those were oral for most of their lifetime before, the book was written. Does that make sense?
The funny thing is, people, in regard to Homer, I'm not just going off track, they often talk about whether or not Homer was an actual one guy or if it was multiple people.
That's probably multiple people.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's relevant. Even if there was a Homer who wrote the original, Odyssey, Iliad, whatever, it's been so changed over time, it might as well be a story by commission. It doesn't matter. You know?
Well, the same thing with, Pythagoras, for instance. The Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, stairs, basically. They think that was more than one person. I think that was a society of mathematicians. But there's no way to tell. So that's kind of why, since we're getting into the New Testament soon, stuff like that is why I think the Jesus myth is an amalgam of several different stories, and you can tell because we're done for the day. Fuck it. You can tell too because of the way the stories evolve. That they start out maybe there's truth bits to it, like the like going through and pretending to heal people. That would be a thing a holy person would do. But later on, he brings Lazarus back to life. But before that, the story of Lazarus, for instance, is a metaphor. It's not an actual story that an actual Lazarus guy lived. It's a metaphor about a Messiah and a Messiah figure. And then like the prodigal son is just that didn't actually happen. It's just a
Parable.
red letter parable. Like it's not. I don't know. It's very interesting, and you can see threads of that throughout the entire book, which is why I find it most interesting. Like the Noah thing. The Noah thing comes straight from like old myths like Gilgamesh and stuff like that. So
I'd actually love to go back when we are done with this series. I'd love to go back and redo some of that Genesis stuff with a little more context. That'd be great. But I am so excited. As much as you guys have been like, when are you getting to the New Testament? When are you getting to the New Testament? I want to get there too. There's some of the most interesting stuff is there. Of course, we want to get to it. So
the most interesting conversations, especially from a historical perspective, because most of this shit that we've been reading thus far is 90% myth. Some of it's historic. But 90% of it has been myth and conjecture and not really... Even though the New Testament isn't contemporary with itself most of the time, like the Galatians letters that I made a joke about earlier in Romans, those are actual letters that Paul writes. But like the Gospels, for instance, 40 years later. You know what I mean?
I've heard anywhere from 40 to 100.
Well, yeah, no, I'm saying the earliest
you're right.
one.
Depends on which one you're talking about. Sorry, I misunderstood.
But and if you look through it chronologically, you can watch the myth change, and we will go through that with you chronologically, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I would love to. I think we'll go back and do some Genesis stuff after, but you need the whole story. And I know this has been a long time, but you need the whole Old Testament to appreciate the New Testament in the way the myth is crafted, because it's so obviously intentional.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really grasp how intentional, like, you put facets of the Jesus myth in here, here, and here. Like making Joseph a descendant of David on purpose. Specifically, even though how we know heredity works, it wouldn't matter because Jesus isn't David's son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Joseph's son.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
So, interesting stuff. Anyway, I guess that's it.
Dick jokes.
Dick jokes. Dick jokes. Good news, everyone. Our website is going live very, very soon. We're doing some beta testing. We gave some people some codes so they could check it out and see if they can break the site, basically, and get some feedback on what they think about it. It looks cool. I like it so far. It looks very websitey. So
yeah. It's got a really nice aesthetic to it. Hopefully, it's interactive. I don't really know. We're gonna try to have a forum on there. For now, we have links to the Discord. We're gonna have extra content on there eventually. Once we get basically we got to get the ads sorted out. We want to see what ad companies are like. We have right now we're going through an ad service similar to AdSense, but it's called Propeller. They seem maybe like they're a little aggressive, so we wanted to beta test that a little bit more to make sure that you guys like aren't inundated with shitty ads, because while we want to make money on the site, we want your experience to be good, and we don't want you to ad block it, because we're trying to make up for the AdSense on here. So we're just gonna working out the kinks, but real soon should be a lot of fun. Got a lot of artwork, so if you are an artist and you want to be featured on the site, all you gotta do is make art of us, and we'll put it up there.
And I believe there's going to be a section where you can get like resources like our logo and title of the show and the font and everything if you wanted to put it on your art or whatever. So be excited for that. And don't worry, nothing's changing here. All the videos are still going to be here. You'll see them. It's just they'll also be there, kind of like how, Cinema Snob has his own site, or, Nostalgia Critic has his site, whatever. It'll just be a hub for all our shit.
And if we ever have stuff, and maybe we'll upload early there.
Maybe.
Sometimes, depending on the content, like if we do a movie review, maybe we'll put it up like exclusively there for like the first week and then put it on YouTube or whatever. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And the people that are working on it are fantastic. And they're working really hard. So they're great.
Yeah.
And I love them.
So, other than that, you can always subscribe to this channel over at The Cron Reloaded. which is getting killed right now because if you guys don't know, YouTube changed their ad system, so any controversial titles get put in a lower tier. And guess what's controversial? Talking about Islam. So
Islam is a little bit.
Check that out, because if we're not making money on it, I at least want people to see the videos, because we are still making them. It's not going away. Just
Yeah.
Patreon, if you want to support the show, Patreon's an option. You get YouTube Red. I don't care.
A lot of swag in the Patreon though. Sending a lot of stuff. Sending Harold Penisman free drug vials this time around. Disclaimer: it's filled with candy, not actual drugs. YouTube, calm down.
Fun fact: we also did the Harold Penisman condoms. And our Patreon manager accidentally had screwed up my address because I get sent the stuff too.
I got sent double condoms.
Okay. And I got sent mine, but he had my address wrong accidentally, so it got sent to my neighbor, who luckily did not open it and find a bunch of condoms with Harold Penisman on them. Which would have been funny, I'm not gonna lie. But, yeah, I got them. I'm a little afraid to use them, because I'm like, am I gonna get pregnant with these?
I don't know.
Anyway, until next time, I'm Hugo.
Don't trust our condoms.
They're for show. They're show condoms.
They're showy condoms.
You put them on your hearth, and when your grandma comes over, you go, oh, here's my
You
employee.
put up candles with them.
Yeah.
You don't use them.
Make a shrine to us. Send a picture. Come on it.
Make a what are those called? Like a mobile, so that your baby can play with it. The baby you had because you used our condoms.
Yeah, there you go.